I'm a sister or Lee Marie Kirchner. All right. And I am one of 13 children. My father was from Linden, Kentucky, the country, and my mother was born in St. Matthews from the Schmidt family on Sharon Avenue. They were the first couple when they married to marry in the old Holy Trinity Church, the one that burned in St. Matthews. It's a school now, but they were married there. I grew up in Linden in my early ages till I think we had to move to the city when I was in about the 4th grade. That was about 30, let's see, it was after the 37 flood. Yeah, see, my dad was a big farmer, truck farmer. And we had animals, but we maintained them for our own eating purposes. And then he would sell the vegetables downtown, down at the produce, right there in the heart of St. Matthews. And 37 flood sort of began to ruin his property somewhat. And then after that, in 39, we had to leave it and move to the city. Nearly broke his heart, but we had to do it. And he had 13 children. We moved into a 6-room building, city type, on Spring Street in the St. Joseph's Parish. That's how we had to leave our friends and people from the country areas, school, and try to fit into a city type ambiente. You had to. You had no choice. Yeah. That is Linden Lane. We lived even further past Vinecrest Avenue. It ran around the railroad tracks. But it was a lovely country area. My mother was a good manager. My dad did farm work and everything, and my brothers, some of them were a little bit older than us because we were little. And how they managed that, I don't know, but my mother was the brain in the family. I mean, she just had a marvelous way of managing with little or nothing and still make it work, you know, that type. She was warm and very gentle, very lovely. My dad was hardworking. What I recall when I was still on the farmland, I was small, but we still picked up the potatoes and sweet potatoes and helped in small ways, which we loved, you know. And they were our little chores, you know. But then in school times it was difficult because we had to be bused, and sometimes the bus didn't come. In those days it wasn't like now, you know. And so we would miss school many times, but you couldn't do anything about it. It wasn't the road as much as the lack of bus control, you know, similar things of now. The Holy Trinity in St. Matthew, where the Holy Trinity is now, that same parish. The sister's house is still standing. But the school burned in 37. And that's also the year that, right after that we had to move to the city. Well, our Ursuline sister taught there. And Sister Generose and Father, great big heavy set man, had a real heavy voice. Can't think of his name. Skipped my mind, I don't know. But quite a few people knew him for his voice. Spring Street is a block from Melwood Avenue, and Melwood is a real long block from Frankfort Avenue. So it was in that area, what did they call that area? Butchertown area. And we used to walk from Spring Street, down Melwood, down Frankfort, back down Story Avenue, then to St. Joe's to school, until they made that little bridge that went over the The bridge is still standing now. That connected Spring Street and Story Avenue. Really brought a lot of traffic and things through there. It cut off a lot of our walking all the way around. We came in the end of 30 and 40, and then the war started. So my brother, my second oldest brother, had a job in tube turns, and some way, somehow, they gave that job to my father, and it saved us. Yes, and then not my oldest brother, because he was born with one hand like that, so he couldn't go to the war, but the three brothers did. And so my dad took his work and tube turns, and they made pipes and things for the Army. Wartime. War. You know, and we were very, very poor, but my mother knew how to manage. But on the farm, we never lacked food. We had vegetables, we had animals, but once you moved to the city, it's a different story. Now, we did have those red stamps, you know, and my dad still kept some of his hogs. My uncle took care of them. And so at hog killing time in November, right about this time, that was a big fiesta time, you know. Kids and everybody had jobs. Whether it was cleaning the tripes, you know, or stirring the blood. Some people don't like to hear this stuff, but that's true. And they were a celebration time, yeah. And the togetherness, you know. What one didn't have, the other one helped, and they were hard times, but they were good times. Once you get to the city, you don't realize it, but you are disorientated, you know, and different type of lifestyle that kids lived. We were used to nothing, and there they were having all kind of things. They'd have skates and bikes and, you know. But that, we did without it. No problem. We were just lucky we were close to St. Joseph's School. I started at UA. My mom really helped me get in the first year, and then after that, I took like a little weekend job as a soda jerk a couple of years. And also, my third year high school, in the summer I worked in a sewing factory and learned how to make top parts of shirts and stuff just to pay my way through school with the help of my mom. But it was good life. It was good life. Had good friends. You know, we've been with Ursulines our whole life. My mother was from way back. But the big change in our family in the city was, I think it was not so beneficial for my brothers. Three of them had to go to war. But see, that was an income for my mother. And so we had extra rations lots of times, and we helped our neighbors. My mom was so generous. We didn't need all the sugar tokens and stuff. Like the neighbor across the alley from us, and they had only one child, so they didn't get much, you know. They didn't need much, they didn't get much. And behind us, we called it an alley, but it was really a street. It wasn't paved, and they were all black. We were just as friendly with them as anybody else. In fact, the one family son was the younger trainer of Muhammad Ali. Jimmy Ellis? Yeah. Their family lived behind us, and we knew Jimmy when he was little. You know? It was a small world. Yeah. But we got along nicely, and it grew up that way, you know? I didn't think of it when I was little, but when I think back, the person that most inspired me just to be was my mom. In spite of all the difficulties, and I mean heavy difficulties and everything, she remained sweet and calm, and and animating. She animated us. And she never said it to me, and I never said it to her, but there was a sense of this desire. And then when I got to UA, I didn't think of it deeply until the third year. Sister Antonia Wagner, she was my homeroom teacher, and there was something warm about her, and she sort of sensed that I wanted to do something, you know, that way. And she sort of got at me a little bit, not a whole lot, because in those days they just didn't take you on too much, you know. And so that desire was there. Even when I was little, I remember I really liked helping. Or if my brothers and sisters, when we moved to the city, sometimes they were taking advantage of the smaller ones and get fights or something. I'd be right there to take up on them. I was a big tomboy. I couldn't help it. They're not going to pick on my little brothers and sisters. I can do it, but they can't, you know. And my older sister, she was the third one, and Dot, she was like a second mother. Because she had a couple of boys after that, and then 6 girls, and then another boy. And so she was like a second mother. And Dot was very, very beautiful person. She did wonders with her life, I think. She married, but she didn't have any children. She took care of us a lot, you know. And she became, I think, the second or third Ursuline associate when they started it. Pope, yeah. And I felt supported very much when she did. And then my younger sister, Therese, did the same thing. She became an associate. It's in heaven, I pray, yeah. They're all in heaven. I'm the only one left out of the whole gang. And I said, well, why did you keep me here, you know? Why am I here, you know? I had the good life, you know? I don't know. There were a couple of us. We like certain little sisters more than others, you know, and you just get real excited if they said something to you, and so you felt you could go to them and say something. So I had 2, and Rosamond and Lourdette, and you didn't have to confide or anything. You just sort of chatted, and they sense. They were smart enough to sense what you were looking for, you know? And so it came to the point where I mentioned it, and he says, well, that's wonderful. It says, you think about that and ask God to bless it, and if that's to be, it'll happen, you know. And so I went along with that, and I didn't say anything to my mom until, I think it was my last year in high school, towards the end, because I had to work during the summers and even during school time. School time I worked as a soda jerk 3 nights a week, and didn't try to study and everything, but it worked out fine. And so I told my mom, and she was very happy. My mother was a religious woman, not pious, but holy, spiritual person, yeah. And she had 2 uncles, my great uncles, that were priests. Father, he died at a massive heart attack in Pee Wee Valley. And then the Augustine died a bit younger. Yeah. Andrew Zoller was his name. He was a bishop or something, I don't know what it was. So she had a very religious incline from her own family, and I think she shared that with me, and I felt that she inspired me, you know, and I didn't realize as a young girl. You know, you take things for granted, but that's where it came from, definitely, my mother. And my older sister was very, very supportive of me. And my little sister Therese, when she was a little older, she was a great spiritual companion. And we would write, you know, and she wanted to become a nun, but it didn't work out. She took care of my mom and dad. Then she married, and that changes everything. But I've had some inspirational people in my life. My mother, we thought it was sort of odd, the things they used to make us do. It was just part of the whole European system. That's what it was. It was a carryover from Europe. And they were strict, very strict, yeah, but it really didn't keep us from being happy. And as long as for my sake, as long as I tried to keep my eye on what I wanted to do and how I should be doing it, wasn't easy. But that's what just gave me the gump to keep on and do it, It's what I felt that God wanted me to do. I didn't feel it was real special at all. I still don't. I think it was just a normal calling, like everybody else has a special calling, but it's their own. One's no better than the other. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. Because a person is a person. It's the image of God, no matter who they are. So I've been very happy. I've had hard times, very hard times. I've had sad times, but extremely, extremely happy and fun times. And my first obedience was to St. George's, and it was a very unpleasant experience. I had never taught, and we had to teach, and I taught in the 2nd grade. I loved the little ones, but I worked with a sister that was sort of real fast, and everything had to be so-and-so, and I won't say her name, but that's all right. But she's in heaven, all right. And so she made me more nervous than anything else. Anyway, I was having a hard time, lesson plans and all that kind of stuff. And so we still had a mistress because we were we finished with our vows. Yeah, we took our vows and everything. But you still had a sister, Marissy, who guided you, in those early years. And one day I told her, I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, I just don't know what I'm doing. And I said, she's too fast for me. And the superior was a sister that taught me in the 5th grade. We had just come from the city to St. Joseph's. I came in the middle of the 4th, and the next year was the 5th grade. And DeShanta was the teacher, and she was very, very hard on me, very hard. But the fact is, when they came around, they brought this group of professional people to test eyes. I didn't know that I couldn't see. I had very, very bad eyesight and didn't know it up until the 5th grade. So I had ended up with very thick glasses. I didn't know the blackboard had 2 or 3 images of the same thing, So we never knew. That taught me a lesson, though, for later. I'll tell you why later. But anyway, that was a breakthrough for me, but it's the same teacher that was so mean to me. She was really mean. In my thinking, as a kid, as a young girl. My mother would never talk to me like she would talk to me, She was the superior. Well, she got furious because I asked Marissy to come, and Marissy was her friend. So it was messy. But I wasn't alone. There was one other sister there. She was a dear, Marianne Huber. She worked 30 years as a president's secretary. She had poor discipline, and that didn't go over. So between the two of us, we were just, But it turned out, at the end of the year, both of us were moved. We got another mission the next year. She was happy, I was happy, not together. But we became friends my whole life to the day she died. Really. And it's because of that encounter, you know. But they were difficult years. I caught on to the teaching. I loved the kids. I loved them. And Nancy and I worked together also. We'd invent things that was creative for them to be. They had liked doing what they did, you know. Might have been math, but it didn't seem like math, you know. Things like that. So I've had some wonderful experience. Once I got through that first year was the worst. That's the only year I was very unhappy. The only year in my whole religious life. And I've had a lot of hard years. I don't mean that, but never unhappy with it. I mean, maybe I wasn't happy with some of the things, but it wasn't anything to put a damper on my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. We got enough of that. St. Raphael's, that was a nice place, very nice place. I was there, let's see, 3 years. And from after that, once you completed your vows, those 3 years extra, they sent you out of town. So I went to Cumberland, Maryland. Wonderful years, 5 years up there. I taught the little ones, 2nd grade, and that's where I met one of my students. That's one of my closest friends to this day, this very day. In Cumberland, Maryland, we also had a chance to get a taste of what it would be like mission life. On Saturdays, if you chose, we could go to Cresaptown, Appleton, and Beans Cove and do catechetical work on Saturday mornings. And I loved doing it. Oh, I loved doing it. And there's where I got a taste of mission life. They were poor country people. They had nothing. I mean, country, this was Cumberland, Maryland, and Appleton, and Beans Cove, in the sticks. Like, my first years up in the east, those 5 years were so fruitful for me, for many, many ways. After that, went back to Louisville 2 years, and then we had already volunteered 2 or 3 times for mission life, and that's when our superiors, unknowingly to the community, investigated about mission life and sending that 10% of your community to the missions. And we're very grateful that they took that on. It wasn't clear. They didn't have anything clear for us what to do, where to do it, how to do it, or anything. But that was okay. That was our part to wade through, and we did. I really fell in love with the youth in Peru. They had nothing, nothing. Especially when we first went there in that deserted area, you know. The youth were our salvation too. We taught and we had it hard in many ways, but that's not the point. It was the interchange that came about, you know. And the language was a barrier in the beginning, but not that long. Because your feelings supersede your mouth sometimes, you know. And I just loved the youth and worked with them on the coast, but in the mountains was the happiest time. They were young girls. They wouldn't let them out of the house hardly. Well, they didn't do that in Peru either. I mean, in Lima. They controlled the girls as if, you know, machismo. And so I worked with the youth in both places, and that was the biggest joy. And women. And on the coast, we started working with what they call women's mothers clubs. They were women's promotion of the family. And it was supported by the government because they would give them so much dry food each month. But what we did, we got 5 different areas. The women, there were almost 500 people to work together and form a core leaders group, and so that they could all at different places have food on their table by pooling, working together, and sharing. And they were beautiful, beautiful women. That was on the coast. But in the mountains, they sort of did that with the girls, the young people, mainly the young women. They didn't trust them out of the house. The mountains were worse. They really were worse. But we had some beautiful, beautiful young girls up there. And so they filled you with the grace and the strength you needed. You know, it was unbelievable how you wondered why God was so good to you, you know. We went down there to save. They saved us, if you ask me. There's no way about it. And I think they saved our community. Not me as a person, in general. They taught us so much about what Jesus' message, his basic message really is, you know. And so, it's just been a wonderful life. I can't complain. When I told my dad and them was coming to Peru, you know, that's when we got this notice. He talked like it was really just right around the corner, you know. He said, "Dad, it's another country." What? But we made a lot of mistakes, but we did some good too. From the little children, I started working with youth, and I just fell in love with the youth. The girls, the boys, it didn't matter. They were just, and we had a good rapport, really good. Because I was always of the mind they need to be lifted up. There's not one young girl or boy that doesn't suffer from negativeness about themselves in their growing up and not having or not being able to do, and watching others, you know, get ahead in life, and you're stuck in family lives that were horrible sometimes. I meant violent. So I fell in love with the youth, and it was just another whole mission for me, working with them, plus other things that we had to do. We worked with the parents, we worked with this school board, you know. We kept up, we got good standing. Our school in Callao has an excellent standing to this day. And then in the mission field, I mean up in the mountains, there's no worry about grading or anything like that. You just worked and tried to move people on. We worked with rural catechists. They were farmers, very poor farmers, and they would come once a month, and we would have workshops with them, stumbling through the words and everything else, but they were good with us, and they were helpful, and we did what we could. And then we got outside help from Germany, the church in Germany, and our own community began to see that we needed funds. We were living on nothing like. So that we bought seeds, and the farmers started planting and growing things they never heard of, and it just blossomed. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I loved it. I did have a grace. I was good with the youth because I uplifted them. And I definitely upheld the women, and the men knew it. So we got along nicely, you know. I mean, we made ourselves get along nicely. And so I was no savior bit about it, but a struggle on both sides, you know. I had plenty of deficiencies, and they knew that. That was no problem, because we used what we could with the graces God gave us, and pooled what we could, the ideas and everything we did. It was just a sharing. It was a beautiful sharing. And I met the most beautiful people in my life. Really, it's just, to this day, they still keep up. 41. That's why I didn't know quite a few of our sisters. Some I live with, and I didn't know them. But that's all right. I learned to know them here. We didn't get home very often in the beginning. Now, later on in the years, they changed that, but that was good. That was a good move. We missed many of our family members dying. Sick, suffering, and dying, you don't know it, you know. Those were the things that, the price you paid, you know. And I think it was hard on the family too sometimes. My mother was a beautiful writer. I get that from her. That is a grace. My eyes sort of handicap me now, but I kept up with a lot of older folks and people who have troubles, you know. And they helped me as well as I helped them, I'll tell you the truth. It's not one-sided at all. But I still keep up with a couple elderlies. I wish I could do more. I can't see. I keep telling myself, has God given me, He gives me each day to start anew and let my heart be my eyes, because they're going to go. And so I'm not the only person in the world that loses your sight, but I don't have to lose the sight of my heart, you know, of your desires. And it can be shared some other way. But I'm just very grateful for any person that was part of my life. It was very difficult coming back, and I'm not the only one. Anybody that comes back from 41 years out of the ambiente into a different culture, values, church values, faith values, basically Jesus's value. That's what it was, you know. That was changed. Not that we don't have them here, but it was you carried it out differently. You lived differently, with a different mentality, in the sense we are not in charge, you know. God's in charge, and He lets us see how to work with what He gives us, and that's what I've tried to do. When I came back, I had to be very open to new ways. Thinking and everything was, it's almost the opposite of your values when you come home. It's very difficult to explain. Anybody that comes back can tell you. And so I waited through that, and my salvation, I wasn't home long. I had hysterectomy, which I didn't know I needed. And what else? And cataract. After that was done, I started going to Shelbyville, to the Centro Latino. And doing volunteer just on a Saturday. And when I started that, it was the horrible conditions. It was it was on the grounds of the parish in Shelbyville, Annunciation Parish, and it had been a gas station at one time, but on the premises of the church. Odd. Well, or either the church brought it out, but it was messy, and in parts of the building there was still oil, it was a mess. It was a mess. So I would go on Saturday, and we would help try to clean it up, because people would bring bags of clothes for the people in need. It was supposed to be trying to help them. It was low-key starting out, but it built up. Pat Rossi, the Dominican sister, she was super. She had been a superior and a financier, very sharp with finances and how to get people to help. And so I started working with her, and then I felt like I was with somebody that I could share with, and so we went back and forth a lot of time because she knew what it was like. She was a superior in her community and knew when missionaries came back home, you know. Yeah, so she was a real buddy, and we're good friends to this day, right now, yeah. In fact, she just called the other night. And we started getting the people that came to help us clean up. So she got funds. She's a financier, or whatever you call them, and knew how to fundraiser. That's what she did. We rebuilt the whole thing from scratch. And that was years now back, because I was going there ever since I came home, 15 more years. But it was due to her and the people that she knew, and how to get people to help from there and from the outside. And it's been a great asset to that community for years now. So I worked with her, and we did some, it was about 2 years, I think, till I was getting back into the English a little bit better, and started working with the women. In 30 women, that's all we could handle because we didn't have the space. Each month, just once a month, I'd have these women, and we'd plan a talk and some dynamic. I always did dynamics, because if you can get them to laughing and stuff, then they can think afterwards, you know. So we did that each week. I'd plan it, and it'd get better and better, and more of the women wanted to come, so we had to do separate groups, you know. And they also got benefits, because if they got on the list, then they could get food, you know, and they were hard up. I loved that work, and I did a lot of, we did spiritual, but we did the personal needs of the women, you know, as mothers, and coming in a country where you're not accepted, and all kind of things. You have to look into the psychological aspect of their lives, which was very negative. Yeah. So and then we begin to see leaders coming out of them. That's what you look for. New leaders. People to help out. And after a while, I had so many helpers. You know, they were just... And so when I left, I didn't feel too badly, because she had leaders. Better people than I could ever do. They were bilingual, you know. Pat was a great asset in my life. She's still a very dear friend. Yeah. And I did that. Nuncy, thank God, Nuncy took me in, because I didn't have any place to go. And we were friends from before. My ministry now mainly is prayer life. I'm very grateful for the least person in my life. And I just do what I can. I try to be kind here. I try to just be a friend, as I notice they're friends to me. And appreciate the Mass. I can't participate in our prayer life because I can't read the things. But I do appreciate our Mass and our being together. I just feel I've been triply blessed. I can't explain it all. It's just, and maybe an unworthy blessing, but it gave it to me. And I accepted it, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to everybody I met, whether it was favorable, not favorable, I'm still grateful. Because that's part of life, and I just hope I can remain faithful to the very, very end. Came alive to us in Peru. Very much alive, yes, strongly, and it was good. It was good. I think she was a marvelous woman, and She was brave, and strong, and wasn't easy. So she gave us pointers, on how to live and accept it. I confided once I learned about Angela and delved into her life, and some of her sayings were so meaningful, and then you adapt them to your own situation. They were powerful. They were great helps. They were great helps, yes. I feel like I met a lot of St. Angelas. And Angela's still alive. She's alive. She's alive in a lot of students here and there, and a lot of the associates. What I like about Angela, her spirit, her whole charism is based on the life of Jesus when you think about it. The love of Jesus and believing in Him. That's the whole thing. It seems so simple, but it's not so simple, I admire her for taking up her cross. And we also, Nuns and I started going down to the nursing home. We went there for 10 years and helped them with the sisters and the Mass and things like that. And then she couldn't do it anymore, and so I thought, well, I shouldn't go either, because be here for her. And I didn't want her to think that she was helpless. I said, I can't do it either, And they were my last years with her. They were beautiful years. She was such a lovely person to live with. Exceedingly bright. Exceedingly bright. They used to call her a walking dictionary. Seriously. And but humble as they come. Excellent teacher, cute personality, and the little kids in the second grade, she had great big dimples. I don't know if you remember. Were really inserted. And some of the little kids would go, ooh, ooh. We used to laugh at dumb stuff, But they were good years. They were good years. And that's how I ended up. And then once she had to come over here, it sort of took a spark out of my life, over there. I had some lovely friends over there, though, because we went to the different activities and participated there and helped out with some prayer services. And yeah, so, but when it was time, it was time. I've found a lot of joy here, not in the very beginning, not the first year, but this second year. And we have a lot of sisters here now. We didn't in the beginning, and that's nice. I'm not saying it's the best. I think it's nice, because this is not our place. This is a public institution, and it's so wonderful to be able to share with different ones. Many of these ladies are so lovely, and they have wonderful backgrounds. It's marvelous what they've gone through. We think I had my mission life and all that. Boy, they had a mission life too. They're beautiful people. So I'm very happy with the people I can encounter with and share. I'm deeply grateful for being part of our community, and all the wonderful opportunities they've given me in my life to try to carry out what I thought Jesus wanted me to do, I'm thankful for my family, all the families that I've ever met up with in my whole community life. And just will always be grateful.